Well, it sounds to me like they are coming from the Iran-backed Shia militia, or if it's from the government of Iraq itself, that's almost the same thing in some respects. It's obviously unacceptable, and I think it shows the continuing danger to Kurdistan and to others in the region as long as the Ayatollahs are still in charge in Tehran. Well, I think we should consult with the Kurdistan government to see what they think they can do, what help they may need. I think it shows a continuing need for a U.S. presence in the region, in Iraq, in northwestern Syria, and elsewhere, as long as the instability continues. And we've got a long history here with a lot of problems, whether it's the Shia militia or ISIS or Iran itself, and obviously there are new developments in Syria we have to take into account. But it says to me it's just not the moment for the U.S. to be withdrawing or reducing its role in the region, especially with respect to the Kurdish people who have done so much to try and fight terrorism over these recent decades. Well, I would have responded to these militia group attacks going back really even before the Hamas attack of October 7. I would have had during the Biden administration a much stronger response to the attacks and the threat of attacks. And if in Kurdistan in particular, these are U.S. Personnel that are put at risk in connection with U.S. investments or any kind of legitimate activity inside Kurdistan, I think it should call for a stronger U.S. response. You know, the administration has shown this administration it's prepared to act by striking the nuclear programs inside Iran. So dealing with the Shia militia threat seems to me to be a lot less risky and just as important for the U.S. to show its continuing presence and its unwillingness to accept this terrorist threat. Sure, we're entitled to act in self-defense, and I think we've done it before. There's certainly no reason not to do it now. In fact, I think with the regime in Iran weakened, this is no time to give them a lifeline or to show weakness in the face of militia attacks, undoubtedly with equipment that the militia received from Iran. Yeah, whether the orders for the attacks actually come from Tehran or whether the militia groups have made these decisions on their own, to me, shouldn't make a difference in the U.S. response. The militia groups have been armed, equipped, trained, financed by Iran, not simply for the betterment of the militia groups, but to serve a larger Iranian strategy, the Ring of Fire strategy against Israel, but also against the United States and U.S. friends in the region, and including Kurdistan. So I think we're fully justified in responding militarily, and I think we ought obviously to consult with Kurdistan. But I definitely think this is something that's no different fighting a terrorist backed by Iran than fighting a terrorist from ISIS. Well, that's certainly what I would do if I were in a position to make decisions about it. I certainly hope that's what the administration will do because I think unless these drone attacks are met with a strong U.S. response and a strong Kurdish response, the militia in Iraq will take that as a sign that they've intimidated the U.S. and its partners, and I think the attacks very much at risk of continuing or even getting worse. Well, unfortunately, we don't see peace in the region. We still see conflict in, as you mentioned, with the Houthis, with Hamas in the Gaza Strip, with Hezbollah and the new regime in Syria, in Lebanon and Syria. Now we see these outbreaks in Iraq and Kurdistan, and just last month, obviously, in retaliation for all of this that's happened since October the 7th, the Israelis and the U.S. attacked Iran's nuclear weapons program. I think there are a lot of causes for discontent and conflict in the Middle East, but the principal cause, the principal threat to international peace and security is the regime in Iran. And I think the attacks by the militias are part of that. And that's why I would support a U.S. military response against them. Well, I think right now the position of Iran is gravely weakened. I think the regime of the Ayatollahs is in real trouble inside Iran. I think opposition is very high. And by contrast, I think the power of both the U.S. and Israel is considerably increased. So the right course here is not to let the regime in Iran recover, but to support the opposition inside Iran to the Ayatollahs. I think everybody in the region will be better off if there were a more sensible government in Iran. Well, I don't think he's succeeded enough. I still think there's a lot of work to do, but all of the momentum is in favor of weakening Iran's efforts to influence the region. We've still got 10 or 12,000 ISIS prisoners that the Syrian Democratic Forces are holding across the border in Syria. So it's not just Iran, but it also shows that if the U.S. does not make it clear to the militia in Iraq it doesn't accept their behavior, the ISIS forces may take that as a sign that it's safe for them to operate too. So things could actually get worse in the region without a forceful response. I don't know what the Trump administration should do, but that's what they should undertake. Well, I don't think U.S. forces should withdraw until we're absolutely convinced that the HTS government has, in fact, renounced its history of terrorism back when it was the Al Nusra Front and an offshoot of Al Qaeda. I understand what the new regime is saying, but I don't think they've proven to my satisfaction by their actions that indeed they no longer follow a terrorist course. Obviously, they're in conflict with the Druze and now Israel and in southern Syria. It's very confused. And if I were the SDF, I would be cautious in dealing with the HTS government. Well, I'm sure that President Erdogan of Turkey is asking the administration to withdraw, and he'll say, I can take care of northeastern Syria. We've been down this road before. I think it would be a mistake. I think the U.S. presence in both Iraq and northeastern Syria really is a very stabilizing force. And if we go, I think I'm very worried about the future of the SDF, both because of Turkey and because of the HTS regime. Well, I think it would be a mistake for the U.S. to withdraw for the reasons I've said before, and I think the Iraqi government's obviously under enormous pressure from Iran, given the damage that's been done. But as I mentioned a moment ago, I don't think this is time to throw Tehran a lifeline. I think this is a time to stand up to the terrorist, whatever form they take.